All right, let's talk about something that gets all of us. It's a sneaky mental trap that quietly sabotages how we learn and make choices. But the good news is, there's a simple and kind of fun tool to fight back. It's called the decision swear jar. So, let's get into it.
First up, the outcome trap. This is where we need to start because it's a fundamental glitch in our mental software. It's a trap we all fall into, and honestly, most of the time we have no idea it's even happening.
So let me ask you this. Picture a chef. They do everything right. They follow the recipe to the letter, the ingredients are perfect, their technique is flawless, but then the oven malfunctions and completely burns the dish. Was the chef's decision to follow that recipe a bad one? Your gut reaction to that question, it reveals a whole lot about how your brain is wired to judge success and failure.
And that brings us to the villain of our story today, a cognitive bias called resulting. It's basically our brain's lazy shortcut. We look at how something turned out and we work backward. If the outcome was good, we think, brilliant decision. If the outcome was bad, what a terrible choice. But as we just saw with our poor chef, it's just not that simple, is it? Okay, on to our next section. Decision versus luck. So if resulting is the problem, how do we get smarter? Well, the whole game is about learning to separate the things we actually control, our decision-making process, from the things we can't, which is really just the wild card of luck. And this is the most important idea in this whole explainer. To make better decisions, you have to untangle the decision process from the final outcome. They are two completely different things. You know, a great process can lead to a bad result, and a terrible, thoughtless process can sometimes get lucky. If you really want to learn and get better, you have to look at the quality of the process itself, no matter how things ended up.
This little 2x2 matrix is a fantastic tool for breaking this down. Imagine you have decision quality on one axis, going from bad to good, and on the other, you have outcome quality, also from bad to good. This simple grid gives us 4 quadrants that really shine a light on where our thinking goes wrong.
So let's look at that first box, a good process that leads to a bad outcome. We call this being unlucky. This is our chef. They did everything right, but still got a terrible result. Now, when we're trapped by resulting, we punish this. We see the bad outcome and we blame the good process. And that's so damaging because it discourages good thinking in the future. Then you've got the opposite, which might be even more dangerous. This is a bad process that somehow leads to a good outcome. You get lucky. You didn't do your homework, you made a sloppy call, but hey, it worked out. Resulting tells your brain, see, that worked. Do it again. It actively rewards a bad process, which just sets you up for a massive failure down the road. And this quote just nails it. When we fall for resulting, we get trapped in this crazy feedback loop where we punish good decisions and we reward bad ones. Think about that for a second. We're literally training ourselves and our teams to become less rational over time.
Okay, next section, the language of bias. So where does this bias hide? Well, a lot of the time it's hiding in plain sight. It's right there in the words we use every day. How we talk about decisions can reveal these mental shortcuts without us even realizing it.
I mean, just look at this comparison. On one side, you've got that classic biased, absolute language. That idea will never work. It's certain. It's final. It completely shuts down the conversation. But look at the reframed version. I'm 80% confident it won't work, and here's why. It's not about being certain. It's about probability. It invites a discussion. It says, this is my thinking, now let's challenge it.
So we know our brains are wired for this trap, and we know our language can make it even worse. So what in the world do we do about it? How do we fight back? Well, this section introduces our hero. Let's talk about the decision swear jar.
Here's the thing about biases. You can't just decide to turn them off. They're automatic. So instead of trying to rewire our brains, which is pretty much impossible, we use what's called a behavioral nudge. It's a gentle interruption that breaks the pattern. And that's exactly what the decision swear jar is. A simple, powerful way to catch ourselves in the act.
And here's how it works. It's a simple little loop. First, you identify the swear words, those absolute, blaming, or outcome-focused phrases. Second, when you hear one, someone triggers an interrupt, a simple, hey, swear jar. Third, that tiny pause gives everyone a moment to reflect and then reframe the statement more objectively. And fourth, over time, this process reinforces a whole new habit of clear thinking.
All right, on to the final stretch, putting it into practice. This all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like to use this in your work, or even just in your own life?
It's actually really straightforward. First, as a group, you agree on what your swear words are. Second, you decide on what the jar is. It doesn't have to be a real jar. It can be a simple phrase or a hand gesture. Third, and this is crucial, you have to foster a culture where this is seen as helpful and constructive, not as shaming. And finally, you make it clear that the goal for everyone is to get better at finding the truth together.
And that is the absolute bottom line. This tool isn't about calling people out to make them feel bad. It's about creating an environment where intellectual honesty becomes the norm. It's about focusing on making the best possible collective decisions, based on a solid process, not just on luck.
So, I'll leave you with this to think about. That last big project that went wrong, or a decision that you regret. Ask yourself, honestly, was it a bad decision? Or was it a good process that just ran into some bad luck? Being able to truly untangle those two things, that's the first huge step toward making much, much better choices tomorrow. Thanks for digging into this with me.